Hello and welcome to the TPCAR Monthly Market Update. I am your host, Amy Remington with Guild Mortgage, and we kind of want to lead you through what's going on in the market now and what questions or answers that you need for your buyers and sellers out there. Now, one of the things that just happened is, of course, you've seen all of the updates on the 21st Century Road to Housing and all of that information that is coming out. A lot of that, Maxwell and I were just having a conversation about that. We will see the impacts of that likely down the road a little bit, but your buyers and sellers might be asking you those questions. How is that going to impact me? Should I wait? Should I make a move now? And those are the kind of questions you got to dig a little deeper into that data. There's some really positive points on there that I think will have some delightful long-term effects. And remember, whenever there's legislation at a federal level, it takes a minute or two for it to come back down to the county and the city level or even the state level. So we'll be seeing those impacts down the road. So if you get that specific question, just say, hey, this is absolutely going to be something that will change the landscape in the future, likely increase inventory in the future, and that is good for overall housing. But I don't think it's going to have a rubber hits the road impact on you right now, Mr. Buyer or Seller. Now, one of the things that I was thinking about on my way over here is what's going on now geopolitically and what has been going on with oil prices. And your clients, of course, have been going to the pump and lamenting about different, how am I supposed to afford a house if I'm paying X for fuel? And that's been a real concern. And thankfully, the last week or so prior to this recording, we did see a little bit of relief in oil prices. And then subsequently, we've seen that trickle down just a little bit to the pump. It looks like there is a little bit more of a little unrest there that's going to be sustained for a bit longer. We don't know what the long-term effects of that is. But what I can tell you is anytime inflation happens, it's scary to mortgage rates. It makes them jumpy. And we've been very much on a roller coaster, gosh, the last couple of months since the unrest in the Middle East kind of started. So one of the things that we've been telling our clients, especially buyers when they're looking to buy out there is, I know it's not necessarily the number you had wanted to start with a 5 or a 4 on your interest rate, but I can tell you that this will be the highest interest rate you'll ever have on this particular house, because when rates come down, and they will, it's cyclical, when rates do come down, your lender is going to reach out to you to make sure that you're able to bring that rate down to a more reasonable level. As long as you can afford it and you feel comfortable with the payment now, then that will keep you from paying more for the housing potentially down the road. So that's been really helpful for folks that have been dealing with the ebbs and flows of interest rates over the last couple weeks, especially while they're shopping when rates are changing. Now, there is a recipe. And I don't think anyone's told you this, but there is a recipe for lower rates, because I get this all the time being in mortgage. Hey, Aim, when are we going to see rates come back down in the 4s or the 3s again? And the answer is that we need really low inflation. So just like baking banana bread, right? You need a recipe. So the recipe is we need low inflation. And that means that we need to see the costs of goods and services nice and stable. Also, to get rates really low, we need to see real weakness in employment. And that doesn't mean people just not hiring. That means people letting people go. And that can be problematic if it goes too far. Like during the zombie apocalypse, when there was mass layoffs because we did the shutdown. When that happened, we saw massive unemployment, obviously, because there were massive sectors of our economy that were just not functioning. There was the essential group. You remember all that. It was not ideal, but that's what caused, to a large degree, rates to come down pretty significantly. So again, low inflation, weakness in jobs, and the third real recipe to extremely low rates, or when we saw them during COVID-19 pandemic, was that we saw the Fed step in. Now, does that necessarily mean the Feds lowered rates? I mean, they did, but that wasn't really the thing. Like, the thing that really dropped rates was when the Federal Reserve started purchasing mortgage-backed securities. And basically what they said is, we're buying as many mortgages as y'all can make, and that drove the rate down. And a lot of your clients were able to access some unbelievably low interest rates. Now, obviously, on the other side of that, hindsight being 2020, we saw on the other side of that significant inflation because we pumped all that money into the economy, and then people started buying stuff, and then it caused the inflation, which we're now just getting out of. So I think that that recipe is important to keep in mind. You know, if we see really high job losses, then not as many folks will be able to buy, and that's not necessarily ideal. So there's got to be a balance. So according to all, they that know everything, they say that we need to see rates in the fives. Fives is a healthy place. That means we don't have too many job losses. That means we don't have too many folks that are out of work, that we don't have inflation going through the roof. That's a nice, healthy place where home prices are a little bit more reasonable to attain. Last time we saw rates hit 5.5, and they were there for like a minute, but last time we saw rates hit 5.5, everyone was like, okay, now is the time. So what's the upside of lower interest rates? The payment's great. That's awesome. The downside, now y'all got competition as a buyer. And as a seller, of course, who's also a buyer potentially, they can get more for their home, but they're also going to have to pay more. So it's like, when is the right time? Right now, I think it's Maxwell told me we've got some beautiful inventory numbers, came way up, so there's more for buyers to choose from. Sellers need to they're going to have to pressure wash, they're going to have to zhuzh up their house a little bit more. They're going to have to bring their A game if they're wanting to get a price. I think that there's, obviously two sides, whether you're a buyer or a seller, what's going to make the most sense for you. And I think that giving someone that advice is really important for them to see, not just from the perspective as them the seller or them the buyer, but also the other side of the table. I'm kind of a win-win girl myself. That's how I've always been. Hey, thanks for watching. We're going to cover other stuff down the road. I'm just really excited that you're here. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the amazing TPCAR staff or give me a holler. Anything I can do to help, just let me know.